Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on our little YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined back at his place by our technical director, Jonathan Voico.
That's right. You know what day it is? It's Friday. That's right.
Did that play? I didn't hear it.
That's okay. You don't hear it on your end, but
I got different audio feed. And back at the Observatory, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett.
It's great to be here. I feel so, I don't know, wrapped in joy.
Surrounded by your stuff. I am, of course, on the road. I am just outside of San Francisco right now. I'm in the town of Dublin, where tonight we are having our next movie meetup. Movie meetups are these just fun little things where I go to a movie in a town and I invite you guys to buy tickets and go to that movie too. And then afterwards, I hang out in the lobby or in front of the theater for an hour or so and hang out, chat, take pictures, whatever. And we've already done a bunch. Like we've done Portland, we did San Diego, we did Albuquerque, Denver, Salt Lake City, and Las Vegas. And now tonight, where are we tonight? Tonight, we are in the San Francisco area. We're at the Regal. We're going to be at the Regal Hacienda IMAX in Dublin for the Psycho 7:15 p.m. show. And then the next night, we're going to be in the Portland area at the Regal Evergreen Parkway. That's going to be on Sunday, actually. On Sunday, we're September 21st, we're going to be in the Portland area at the Regal Evergreen Parkway for the 6:40 p.m. screening of Him. And then the next night, we're going to be in the Seattle area at the Seattle AMC Kent Station for the 7 p.m. screening of Howl's Moving Castle. If you live near any of these places, go ahead, buy a ticket at the theater and come down by and join us. And again, we're going to be in the San Francisco area tonight. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started. I will let you know, though, a little bit of housekeeping here that on Friday, when Jonathan's remote and I'm remote, instead of using the tip link questions, that's normally how we take live questions from the audience. Today on our live show, we're going to be taking live questions via Super Chat. So if you're watching the show live today and you're in our live stream chat there, you can send in a question, topic, or an issue as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed. And we'll address those questions once we get to the end of the episode. All right. That down, everybody. Let's get things started with this. You know, certain questions arise that never seem to go away, whether it was Coke versus Pepsi, or whether it was PC versus Mac, Android versus whatever. The other kind of question that just won't die, no matter how many times it apparently gets answered, is the question of, is Robert Pattinson's Batman going to be in James Gunn's DCU? It seems like it never matters how much James Gunn answers that question. It doesn't matter how much other people seem to answer that question. There are still people that seem to be completely sold on the idea that Robert Pattinson's Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman, is not just going to have their own little pocket movie universe that James Gunn seems to love so much and wants to continue, but rather they're going to cross Robert Pattinson into the DCU, and this Batman is going to be the DCU. Doesn't matter how many times James Gunn has said no. Well, now Matt Reeves himself has come out and put this to rest again. As reported in Total Film, the Batman 2's director, that of course is Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson's movie will not be merging with the James Gunn's DCU, but says working in the DCU would be exciting. He went on to said the following. He said this: despite some hopeful rumors, Matt Reeves has confirmed that the Batman 2 is an Elseworlds movie and will not be merged in with the DCU. However, he isn't opposed to directing his own DCU movie in the near future. We'll talk about that aspect of this in a couple of topics from now. But wanted to kind of focus in on this one again, because again, no matter how many times it gets confirmed, the constant chatter is, I guarantee you Robert Pattinson's going to be the Batman in the DCU. Okay, look, there's two different aspects to this and two different questions that get risen. One is, will Robert Pattinson's Batman be in the DCU? And then the other question is, should Robert Pattinson's Batman be in the DCU? The answer to both of those questions is absolutely not. Listen again, we've been over the fact that James Gunn has repeatedly said that, no, Matt Reeves like James Gunn is still the producer of everything Matt Reeves is doing. He said, but that stuff we've got off to the side. That Batman Penguin universe is its own thing. And then we have this DCU universe that is a separate thing, and never the twain shall meet. Like, they're not going to be in there. James Gunn has said it multiple times. You just got to leave it alone. I think, though, that the reason it keeps getting brought up, guys, is the fact that, you know, so many people just want to see it. So many people want to see it because we like that Batman.
Right.
But the problem keeps becoming, guys, that the thing we love, part of the reason we love it is because it's where it is. You know, Robert Pattinson's Batman works so great because we look at this character through the lenses of understanding that that guy does not live in a universe of gods and monsters. This Batman doesn't exist in a universe where alien beings fly around and shoot laser beams out of their eyes, and mythical warrior princesses from faraway islands with magic lassos and bulletproof bracelets aren't running around. That universe is a grounded universe. And that's part of the reason that works so well. Matt Reeves designed that Batman to be in that kind of a world, not to be in a world where a 75-story high kaiju will start marching through downtown Metropolis and start stepping on people. It's just the way it is. And so, again, Matt Reeves confirmed again, my Batman thing is in Elseworlds. It is not part of the DCU. And Rob, I just think that's the right place for him. That Batman doesn't belong in the DCU. That Batman does not belong in a universe of gods and monsters. He's perfect where he is, and I want to see more stories of that Batman in his Gotham. And I'm looking forward to seeing what James Gunn does with another Batman, a totally different kind of Batman, that's more along the lines of the animated world, that can live in a world with a Superman and a Cyborg and a Flash and a Wonder Woman and a Supergirl and whoever. So the answer, will he be in there? No. The answer, should he be in there? Absolutely hell no. So hopefully now that Matt Reeves has kind of say this, it'll lead to rest. Anyway, Rob, how would you address those two different questions?
Well, I think you said it beautifully. I mean, the fact is, like you said, sure, we're going to have villains in that universe that maybe straddle the line, but for the most part, it is a grounded, real, it's our universe. Call it quote unquote the real world. And I think that that's why it has such appeal. That's why we liked it, because if you remember how that movie opened with those surveillance images of the apartment, you know, that really ritzy before the Riddler went in. I mean, it announced itself as being, you know, when you see, to go back to like Tim Burton's Batman with its Anton First Gotham City, you know immediately that you're not in the real world. You knew that you were in a designed universe that was outside of our reality. Well, the same way Matt Reeves' Batman announced from the beginning, sure, was the construction, did it look like more European than American? Yeah, but Gotham's old world. And so it was set in these great cathedrals, that the attack on the church, that's an amazing church. You know, everything was big, everything was, but it wasn't like lots of matte paintings. Like when you were in that unfinished skyscraper, when they're overlooking the city with those incredible shots of like the sunrise, it still was quote unquote the real world. And that's why it was appealing, because you believe it. I dare say it, John, I'm going to use my favorite word. It had the kind of verisimilitude that Tim Burton's Batman simply didn't have. So that's why we loved it.
Yeah, and again, I've seen a few people. There are two common things. So I'm tired of Batman being grounded. Okay, that's why James Gunn's going to do another Batman.
Nice.
We're going to get a Batman that isn't so grounded, that is a part of the DCU. Meanwhile, the masterpiece that is Matt Reeves's Batman is going to have his more grounded one. The second thing I keep seeing people say, and it never stops, well, it's going to be confusing. What are you, 3? No one is going to be confused. No one's going to, I don't get it. I thought Batman was there, but now Batman is there. What's happening? No one's going to be confused. When they put out Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, No, well, wait a minute. I thought Heath Ledger was Joker. Then I thought 30 Seconds to Mars Boy was Joker. And then what's going? Nobody was confused. Somebody might ask a question. Oh, so is this the same Joker that's going to be fighting Batman? No. This is a different thing. Oh, okay. It's that simple. No one is going to be confused. I bet you if I ask anybody who says this is going to really confuse people, if I ask them, are you confused? Oh, no, not me. I'm not confused. No, I totally get it. Then why do you think no one else in the world, why do you think nobody else can put this together? It's not going to be confusing. Somebody may ask a question, say, oh, so is this the same as that? Nope, different thing. Okay. It's that simple. That's the way it happened with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. It will not be confusing to people. So I don't know, Rob, like I'm sure you had a couple of people in your life ask you when Joker was coming out, oh, is this the same as that? Or is this the same as this? And you probably then just tell them, no, it's not. Like, have you ever come across somebody who was like absolutely paralyzed with confusion over any of this?
Not well, because not really. We are surrounded by genre fans. I think maybe my mom asked me, is this a Batman movie? It's my mom who's the best. She doesn't know anything about anything, even though she raised me.
Right.
And I think that, and again, one of the interesting things about the Joker film is it took the concept of Joker and moved Joker squarely into the real world with a meditation on how could such a character exist. Like it's showing you something that's analogous. Like I never watched Arthur Fleck, and even though they did allude to Batman and Thomas Wayne and all that, I didn't watch that movie expecting Batman to show up. Right. I think that it was, and the same was true. Look, I'm a defender of Joker Folie à Deux.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, well, I know. Because it was the least, I couldn't believe how anti what I expected it actually was. And I wouldn't have spent $200 million on it if the movie had also cost $65 million. It was doomed, I think, to try and do something new after following up a movie that made $1 billion might not have been the best thing to do. But I still found the movie to be an interesting film. And like Quentin Tarantino, who also liked it, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It certainly was well crafted, but I never thought that Arthur Fleck, that the Joaquin Phoenix Joker was ever set in a world where Batman would show up, because that would have sort of gotten rid of the point of the whole movie in the first place, which was it showed how our world could produce a Joker-esque character.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And how the Joker could be real. And that's why I thought that movie was very compelling, and it skewed really close to reality. And I believed it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Will this now finally quiet down the whole, I bet Robert Pattinson's going to be in the new DCU, and now that Matt Reeves himself said, no. There's the DCU, and then there's my Elseworld thing. Or do you think this thing is just going to continue on? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, last night, episode 5 of Peacemaker came out. Season 5 or season 2, episode 5 came out. And listen, I got to tell you, you guys know that I loved season 1. Absolutely loved it. But I was a little bit nervous going into season 2. Will it have the sophomore jinx? Will the novelty, because a lot of times novelty can wear off after a bit, right? Will the novelty, like Naked Gun, I love the first 2 acts, but by the 3rd act, it kind of ran out of gas. I still loved it overall, and I was a little bit worried that maybe Peacemaker might do that in the season 2. I have found season 2 incredibly fun. I've also really loved the new, like the dramatic twist that Harcourt was in a relationship with Flag before he died, and the complications that adds to it and all that kind of stuff. I've absolutely loved it. So this new episode last night, they surprised me in episode 4 when Michael Rocker's character, the Eagle Hunter, turns out he either has some kind of actual power or he taps into some kind of stuff on the mystical plane. I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. But then they come into this. And by the way, Jonathan, if you've got access to the spoiler warning, put up the spoiler warning. By the way, look at that gun. Look at that gun that Michael Rocker is carrying through. So I am going to go into some details. Great. I am going to go into some details about last night. But my God, Eagly as the prime eagle. When Eagly is sitting there looking at Michael Rocker and like the fire thing comes out and there's the prime eagle, I was like pissing myself laughing. I loved, and then all the raptors come flying in and they just rip him to pieces. And then one of my favorite moments from the trailers finally happened where Eagly comes in, drops the finger on the ground, and Peacemaker's like, I'm going to pretend that you found that.
Yeah, I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Oh my God. I love, and the whole draw with Harcourt and him deciding and like him finally hitting the wall. I love the fact that they showed how Chris finally hit the wall. It's like Harcourt gives him a hard rejection. He realizes he's never going to be able to come back from what happened with Flag Jr. And his life just sucks. I mean, in his eyes, his life just sucks. And he gives up and he's just going to leave. And I've really loved the way it's been going. I've appreciated the narrative flow of the thing. I like how they've introduced little elements of drama here that makes the story more interesting. And I still just find it extremely funny. And the Eagly stuff, I just thought was great. Now I can't wait to see where they go. But Rob, there's a theory out there.
I was going to wonder when you got to this.
Yeah, there's a theory out there that that's not Eagly from season 1. The theory kind of goes like this, is that you remember in the first episode, Eagly kind of goes missing for a few minutes in the closet, right? He goes into the closet like, Eagly, where are you? Where are you? And then later, Eagly shows back up. There's a theory out there that the Eagly we have now is an Eagly that came in from another one of those dimensions. Now it's probably not from the best universe ever because Peacemaker's brother was like, what's with the eagle, right? So maybe it's a different one from a different universe. By the way, I'm not sold on this theory at all.
Nor am I.
I actually think this is our Eagly, which raises the question about why wasn't he more powerful then? Why wasn't Eagly able to do more in season 1? I don't know, because he didn't. But it's an interesting theory that I think. By the way, did you catch the Superman kaiju on the TV? That whatever the super team is called, whatever Peacemaker's family's super team is, that the terrific trio or the big trio, whatever top trio. They went. There was a TV in the background. Trio takes down monster, and I look closely. I'm like, oh, that's the kaiju from Superman. So I kind of thought that was interesting. Anyway, Rob, did you have a chance to check out last night's episode?
I did.
What did you think about it?
Look, I find this season of Peacemaker, I'm really enjoying it. It's very intriguing. I mean, it opened with the 3 years ago flashback,
right,
with Rick Flag Sr., which I thought was a great scene, by the way.
I thought that was really good. Yeah,
really good scene. But you wonder, and then this scene when I love this sort of, it reminded me of Austin Powers when Peacemaker comes to the park, and he's running through all the people, so they can't, they couldn't shoot at him because he knows where the snipers are. I mean, I thought that was really clever. Now, the show continues to delight me, but I find where it's going to be really intriguing. The reveal of this. I mean, some people talk about how it's Earth X, the DC universe Earth X.
That's the theory. Yep.
Well, in Earth X, the Nazis won World War II.
Yep.
And there's no reason we would know. They haven't, because we've only seen a glimpse of this world. It's not like if you were looking at this world and it was our world, you wouldn't necessarily know that President Trump was president and JD Vance was vice president. Like we haven't seen any of that addressed yet. We don't know what the politicals. So suddenly Nazi versions of superheroes show up.
Now that you mentioned it, Rob, I think we are living in Earth X. Anyway, sorry, please continue.
Well, no, but I find it really, because they've been carefully and eagerly, it'd be interesting, because an American eagle represents, like, it's the most iconic vision of America. You see it. Well, what if you find out that let's say the Eagly theory is true, that would be like the Nazi Eagly that turns out to be representing the Axis powers, which would be a great way to show the revelation that they're actually in Earth X, or that he's in, because this dimension is great.
Eagly
Until
in the other dimension only starts attacking minorities and just leaves white people alone.
I mean, it's hardcore, man.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, I think what led people to that is that everybody in the town is white, and then if you see a person of color, they're just like their back is to you, and you see them briefly.
Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff, which is a great. I mean, that will be a great reveal if that's how it turns out, and then what happens? Where do we go? It's very, very interesting what they're playing with.
Yeah, I'm very excited to find out how they kind of resolve that, and the revelation that there's something, obviously there's going to be something very wrong with that universe. And by the way, Tim Meadows continues to kill it. Because when he's talking to Judo Master, he keeps referring to him as a munchkin. And Judo Master's like, let me make this clear. If you call me that one more time, I will rip off your penis. Not figuratively. I will literally rip off your dick. And I'm just like, Tim Meadows, I don't know how, man. He's just killing it in this show. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to watch the new Peacemaker? I thought it was really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going with this. Whatever you thought about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, we were just talking about Matt Reeves mentioning that his Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, is Elseworlds as compared to James Gunn's DCU. Well, it's all James Gunn's. James Gunn also runs the Matt Reeves Batman, but you know what I'm saying. But something else interesting came out of that interview. And that was, while talking about his DC, his Batman being in an Elseworlds, he also dropped the fact that he would actually love to direct a movie in the actual DCU. He said this, I mean, really, that's kind of for James Gunn to say, and it would really be exciting working with them, of course, Reeves told Josh Horowitz on the Emmy red carpet when he was told that James Gunn said he wanted Reeves to direct a DC movie. I mean, we're working with them on the Batman 2. It's a DC, it's Elseworlds, but it's DC, so it's theirs as well. What the future brings and what I'm doing will be clear when it comes. You can watch a brief moment below in the 5 minutes. Anyway, so he went on in the interview and was talking about that he would actually love to go over and work in the DCU itself, which raises some interesting questions, because I'll tell you what, right now, if Matt Reeves had mentioned that he wants to make a movie in the DCU without mentioning that his Batman is specifically in an Elseworlds, not the DCU, everybody, and understandably so, everybody would be yelling, see, this is proof that Robert Pattinson's Batman is going to be in the DCU. And that would be understandable if he had just said that. But I do find this idea fascinating. And it tells me a couple of things. Number one, I mean, James Gunn has already gushed about how much he loves working with Matt Reeves and his script writing process and all that kind of stuff. And number two, it tells me that Matt Reeves has really liked working with James Gunn. If he's now coming out and saying, listen, I would love to do a movie in the DCU, and James Gunn is saying, I want Matt Reeves to direct a movie in the DCU. So it does raise an interesting question. Two interesting questions, actually. Number one, Matt Reeves has said that he's not entirely sure if there's going to be a Batman 3 or not. Like, obviously they're doing 2, but he's not entirely sure if there's going to be the Batman 3. So it raises the question of, is he going to be working on the Batman and that Elseworlds universe much longer? Like, will his schedule open up that he can now dedicate 2 or 3 years to making a movie specifically in the DCU? The second question that it brings up is, okay, let's say he does a movie in the DCU. What could we see a Matt Reeves doing in the DCU? What kind of character could we see him taking on? What kind of story could we see him tell in the DCU? I think something really fantastical. Like, I think if Matt Reeves were to go over after finishing the Batman Part 2, and like, let's say either there is no the Batman Part 3 or after the Batman Part 3, I could see him doing something like a New Gods. I could really see him doing something really fantastical. I could also see him taking on something like a Booster Gold, because, you know, they've been talking a lot about that. I could see him taking on a character like Blue Beetle. but New Gods is the one that really fascinates me most with Matt Reeves's kind of sensibilities and his balance between dark and light and all that kind of stuff. I think he'd be a really good choice for something like that. Anyway, Rob, do you think at some point we will actually get Matt Reeves doing a film in the DCU? I personally would very much like a Batman Part 3. And if he were to do a movie in James Gunn's DCU, what kind of movie or character could you see him taking on?
Well, I think that he would want to do something diametrically opposed to the Batman universe that he's created.
Yeah.
And I think, look, if Batman 2, we know it's now happening, if it's a success, and I would imagine it would be more successful than the first one, it's potentially $1 billion movie, especially if it delves into a Batman villain, and we know it's that we haven't seen before on film. It could be probably really, really great. So I would imagine a Batman 3 would be in the offing. And I think as a filmmaker, he'd want to, trilogies are kind of the way to go for franchise properties. At least you want to get 3 movies out there. There were 3 Mad Max movies until there weren't, but that took 30 years. Back to the Future, there's 3 of them. The original Star Wars trilogy, 3. So Indiana Jones was 3 for a very long time. So I would imagine that the Batman would be 3 movies. But after that, I could definitely see that Matt Reeves would want to look. Superheroes are a huge wide open genre, and once you've done the realistic crime thriller, gritty, we're in Gotham City, I think, like you just said, going in the entire opposite direction and doing something that's much more bright, much more buoyant, much more amusing, like you said, a Booster. The thing about Booster Gold, who I love that character, is that he's a man out of time. He's a fish out of water. And yet he's trying to make his way. He's a corporately sponsored superhero. He's big. He's brash. He's a character that's ripe for examination. And it's like Tony Stark was in Iron Man 1. A Booster Gold movie could be a character study about a man who's coming to grips with his own conscience. And I think that that's something that Matt Reeves could do very, very well. So I would love to see him take on a character like that, or go cosmic. Go into space and do not necessarily the New Gods, but maybe do a Green Lantern standalone movie, or do an Adam Strange movie, which is a character I know James likes. Or what I would love to see, a team that nobody talks about, but I love them. They were a Teen Titans spinoff, the Omega Men. I'd love to see. I want them to make an Omega Men movie so bad. Probably never will, but
I'm surprised you didn't say Teen Titans. I thought you would have said Teen Titans.
Teen Titans is my favorite. I mean, I grew up loving the Justice League, but I love Teen Titans, and I read Teen Titans and X-Men, and the dark Teen Titans was fine. But look, if you're going to make a Teen Titans movie, the way I would do it, it has to be Friday Night Lights. It has to be that tone, where you have superheroes, but it's set in a real world, but the emotions are real. That's how I would do Teen Titans if I was called upon. I would look at Friday Night Lights and go, let's do that, but with superheroes.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The Batman director, Matt Reeves, is saying, he would really actually love to make a movie in the proper DCU that wasn't Batman. Could you see that happening? And if so, what character or property do you think he would be a really good fit for? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to play a little game of what's more likely. A little bit earlier today, we jumped on our community tab and our post tab on the YouTube channel, and we asked you guys, our subscribers, to give us some what's more likely scenarios. You guys threw in a whole bunch of them. Jonathan's got a few of them gathered up here to present to us. So Jonathan, what do we got up first?
All right. So our first what's more likely, we'll go over to Rob. Rob, what's more likely here? Kyle Myers asks, Stranger Things having a satisfactory or unsatisfactory ending?
I'm going to go with satisfactory ending, because they've had a lot of time between seasons, and they've been saying that each season is each episode this season is almost like a feature film. I would hope, because I really enjoyed season 4, I think they're going to stick this landing. I think that it's going to have a very satisfactory, probably not a dry eye in the house kind of ending, because we've been with these characters for like almost a decade now.
Yeah.
Or something crazy. So I'm going to err on the side of optimism and say it's going to have a satisfying
Rob,
ending.
You raise a great point about the fact that they've had years and years and years to really get this final one ready and ready to go. But I'm going to say it's more likely it's going to be an unsatisfactory ending. Listen, I really like this show. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Stranger Things, but I've enjoyed every season, including that one season where, we're, what's her name? 6, 7, 4, 3, 9. What's her name?
11.
11. I would have got to it eventually. Where 11 ran away.
Yeah.
Remember that one? Like,
Yeah.
I even like that season. I like that season too. I'm a fan of the show. So the reason I'm going to say it's more likely it has an unsatisfactory ending is statistics. Most shows don't have satisfactory endings. Like Star Trek The Next Generation is a very rare beast.
I love you brought it up. I didn't.
I am saying I think All Good Things is the single best series finale ever in television. But those are very, very few. Like even Sons of Anarchy. I like the ending of Sons of Anarchy, but a lot of people were very dissatisfied with it, despite how great the show was. Yellowstone, amazing show. A lot of people not completely satisfied with how that series ended. It's just stat. And then the worst of all, arguably maybe the greatest comedy ever in television history, Seinfeld, also maybe one of the worst series finales in history. So just going off the batting average, Rob, just going strictly off the math, I think it's going to be a good season, but probably have an unsatisfying ending. All right, what's next?
All right, next up, we're going to run back over to you, John. What's more likely? Asked by Arun, who says, Destin Daniel Cretton directing Spider-Man 5 or Shang-Chi 2?
Oh, I hate that this question is even a possibility. Because, I honestly think Shang-Chi is like absolutely one of the best Marvel films since Endgame. I love that movie, and I've been dying for them to get back to it. I think he's also the best new character. And all due respect to Ms. Marvel, because I think she's fantastic too. But I honestly think he's the best new character they've had, and they've completely abandoned him. But listen, Spider-Man's a priority. And John Watts is gone now, the guy who directed the first 3 Spider-Man films in the MCU. If Spider-Man Brand New Day hits, they're going to want him focused on the next Spider-Man movie. It's not even about what Destin wants to do. If this next Spider-Man movie hits and he's able to continue on it and bring in great box office results and audiences love it and fans love it and all that kind of stuff, it almost doesn't matter how much he wants to do another Shang-Chi. Disney's going to say, we're putting you on the next Spider-Man. That's our priority. He just simply and I get it. Spider-Man is a priority over Shang-Chi. And then maybe they'll give a new director Shang-Chi, which, yeah. So unfortunately, I'm going to say it's more likely that we're going to get him doing a Spider-Man 5 before we see a Shang-Chi 2. Rob, what do you think?
I'm going to have to go the other way. Only because I think they've been developing Shang-Chi 2 for a while now. And I would imagine that this is just total speculation on my part, that they will pull the trigger on a Shang-Chi 2 very quickly, because it's been a long time since we've seen. They're either going to do it very quickly or we're not going to see a Shang-Chi 2. I think that they'll probably announce it going into production very quickly after Spider-Man either comes out or soon before it's released, and then it gives them time to develop Spider-Man Brand New Day 2, whatever it's going to be called, while he makes Shang-Chi, and he'll go right into it.
Okay, so you're thinking they're going to announce a Shang-Chi 2 quickly, and not with a new director, but with Destin.
Yes, and they're either,
I hope you're right,
or they're not going to do it at all. I don't.
All right. What's next?
All right, moving back to you, John. What's more likely here? When Tua Cash Force says, "What's more likely, Moon Knight season 2 or Hawkeye season 2?"
Absolutely, Hawkeye season 2 is more likely. Now, listen, I'm not a big fan of the first season of Hawkeye. I love the character. I love the character in the MCU, the way he's portrayed, the way Jeremy Renner's done it. I love him. I wasn't a big fan of the series. It had some episodes that I really liked, but overall I didn't love it. But the reality is Hawkeye was much more well-received than Moon Knight was. And also we've had Jeremy Renner talking publicly It's like, yeah, I think we're going to get season 2 done. I think we're going to get it done. I think we're going to get moving on that. I think we're going to get done. Whereas we really haven't heard anything about Moon Knight season 2. And I'll be honest with you, despite the great start I think that series had, it ended pretty unsatisfactory for me. And even though I didn't really like Hawkeye all that much, I'd be even more interested in seeing Hawkeye season 2 if they can build on the strengths and correct some of the mistakes they made. So I think it's more likely we're going to get a Hawkeye season 2. Rob, what about you?
I am 100% in agreement with you.
Okay.
Hawkeye, I'm with you. I didn't love it. It was fine. I didn't love it, but I loathed Moon Knight, and I love Moon Knight. Moon Knight's one of my favorite Marvel characters, and I thought they didn't know what they wanted to do. I think the character of Moon Knight itself took a back seat to the whole series. They were more interested in doing the weird schizophrenia thing rather than lean into the character itself. I mean, they were more interested in Khonshu and all the Egyptian gods and eating souls of the people of Cairo. I'm like, I don't even know what this show's about.
But it started well though, right?
It did start well.
Started off really well.
It did start well. I just thought that they leaned into a really late iteration of Moon Knight where I think they should have gone back to and stripped it down and gone back to its Moon Knight's origins. And I will say my favorite thing that did come out of of Moon Knight was the Hot Toys figures.
They were very good.
That's about it.
They were very good. All right, what's next?
All right, we're going to move on to our fourth What's More Likely. Rob, Sean asks, what's more likely, Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool continues in the MCU after Secret Wars, or Marvel recasts Deadpool?
Okay, first of all, Deadpool is the only character that can survive an entire universe being destroyed and put back together again. If there's one character, and there is no way they're going to recast Ryan Reynolds. They're going to keep Deadpool. First of all, that's a franchise that just keeps getting more lucrative. And Deadpool versus Wolverine, you start with a $750 million movie that goes up into the 800s, that goes to 1.4 billion or whatever. And the thing is, I mean, there's never been, I think, a superhero. Christopher Reeve was great. He had 4 Superman movies, but only 2 of them were pretty good. To some people, I still like Deadpool 1 the best, but the character's on an upward trajectory. Ryan Reynolds is that character. He owns that character. And I think that Disney would be dumb. Nobody is going to accept someone else's Deadpool. Even when they have Nice Pool, Ryan Reynolds plays him. So I think, they had a lot of Deadpool variants and all that, but I just don't see it. I think that Deadpool will endure. And if nothing else, they can continue to make Deadpool movies, and I think they'll be great.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's more likely that he does more movies, even though I don't think he's going to do more movies.
Right.
Because number one, there is a chance he does more movies, but number two, even if he doesn't, they won't recast Deadpool. Like, it's just, I would say this. I'm not saying Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is better than Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. I'm not saying that. But I do think he's even more irreplaceable as Deadpool than Robert Downey Jr. is as Tony Stark. Like, Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. That's just the way it's been done up until this point. And so even if he doesn't do it again, which I don't think he will, but it's possible he could, I just don't see them trying to recast it, at least not in the next 15 years. So I'm going to say it is more likely that Ryan Reynolds does more. All right, what's next?
All right, on to our fifth and final question here. John, what's more likely, when Daleman says one battle after another continues WB's streak of 40 million plus openings, or the streak is ended?
Well, listen, I've heard nothing but great things about this movie. I haven't seen it yet myself, but a lot of people I know who have seen it are saying it may actually be the front runner to win Best Picture at the Oscars this year. For a lot of people I know who have said Sinners is the best film of the year, I know a lot of people who thought that are now like, yeah, scratch that. One Battle After Another is the best film of the year. So it's got that going for it. But I think it is more likely that Warner Brothers' record-breaking incredible streak of $40 million openings is coming to an end. I think the early tracking right now is somewhere between 20 and 30 million for it. This is not the kind of movie That doesn't mean the movie isn't going to be the best of the year. It very well could be, but it doesn't look like it has that broad appeal. And here's the most important thing. The trailers have been bad. The newest trailer they did was actually pretty good. But I remember the first couple of trailers, people thought it was, John, it's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. How can you? I don't care if it's Paul. The trailer is the trailer, and the trailer's not very good. I don't care if Paul Thomas Anderson, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, and Alfred Hitchcock cometh back from the dead and all teamed up and made this movie. That's a bad trailer. It just is. There's nothing about, and I had these arguments with people. There's nothing about that trailer that looks remotely interesting. You're only interested because of the names on it. So they haven't had a good marketing campaign. It doesn't look all that appealing to a wider audience. It very well could end up being my favorite film of the year, but Rob, I just don't think a ton of people are rushing out to buy their tickets to it right now. Maybe it'll have good legs and make money in the long run, but I think Warner Brothers' streak of $40 million, 7 in a row films they've put out, that's the record for movies opening to $40 million or more. I don't think it's going to happen with this one. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to open to 40 million. But that said, it's getting, see, the thing about this is the subject matter, it's based on loosely based on a Thomas Pynchon novel, Vineland. It's dealing with very heady, very adult subject matter, even though people say it sounds like it's like the plot of Commando. It's not like the plot of Commando. And it has a lot to say politically about where we're at as a country right now. And it's being made by a master filmmaker. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson is one of our best. And his subject matter, I mean, he made The Phantom Thread, which is a movie about a clothing designer. Even though it starred Daniel Day-Lewis, it's not like that.
Great. I loved it. But
I loved it. I loved
nobody saw it.
Thread. Nobody saw it. I love the soundtrack. I love the way it was shot. I love Daniel Day-Lewis in it. I love the relation. I love that movie. But that's the thing. Paul Thomas Anderson is making movies for adults. And the thing is, the studios are not in that business anymore. They're in the business for making populist spectacles for all audiences, which is fine. It's fine. But one battle after another ain't F1. And so we're not going to be getting that. Now, here's the thing. In our politically charged environment, maybe that is going to play into the movie. But for the most part, I think like you, the trailers tried to lean in, and I've heard it's got one of the great car chases ever filmed, but they tried to lean into the action, which the movie's not just about all that. There's a lot more going on in it. And like you, John, I thought the trailers, they've gotten better, but I'm watching these and they're not, there's something about those trailers where there's nothing in it that's appealing. There's a few good one-liners, but you're watching Leonardo DiCaprio play a character that he doesn't say or do one thing that made me like him in those trailers. And so I don't know if the audiences are going to flock to this movie, if at all.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because sometimes the best movies don't get it. But listen, again, they got no one to blame but them, at least not the filmmakers, but the studio. They have nobody to blame but themselves because the trailer, that marketing campaign was just not good.
No.
If you think just putting Leonardo DiCaprio's face on it is going to draw, guys, we don't live in that era anymore. We don't live in an era. Just show a big movie stars in it and everybody's going to come. And they just did not do a good job making. Rob, I've seen all 3 trailers. Ask me what this movie's about. I don't know.
Right.
I watched all 3. I have no idea what this movie's about. You know what the last time I felt like that was? Blade Runner 2049. And how did that do at the box office? Even though the movie was awesome. But you put out all these trailers. What's the movie about? No idea. And nobody went. So anyway. All right, guys. And that will wrap up this installment, our little game of what's more likely. Thank you to everybody who sent in those scenarios for us. Keep your guys' eyes open on our community and post tab on the channel for when we put out a call for more questions. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Tatiana Maslany, star of She-Hulk, who, even though I hated that show, she was great in it. I mean, she's the perfect person to pick to play the character. There was good, solid stuff there that they could have made a good show around, but they ended up writing an absolutely terrible show. It is what it is. But Tatiana Maslany, who stars as She-Hulk, and many people rumor, and if you looked at the leaked concept art, believe that she's going to be in the new Avengers films, has come out on her social media and has been telling her followers, unsubscribe from Disney Plus, from Hulu, and from ESPN. Obviously, in response to the fact that Disney and ABC have decided to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. All right. You guys know that on my channel, we talk about movies and TV shows. I don't get into the political brouhaha. I'll make the odd snide remark. Sure, I will. But we don't embrace big topics that involve political issues and stuff like that, unless in the rare occasion where a decidedly political issue has direct, major, first-level ramifications on the movie and TV world. And a major political thing happened recently with the murder of, I keep forgetting his actual name. Was it Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk. Where Charlie Kirk got murdered. And listen, I didn't particularly like the guy. I don't think he was a particularly good person. But there is no universe that exists where that guy deserved that at all. And it's a tragedy, and it was horrible. No more so than... the same day or the next day, 2 kids got shot at a school. No more tragic than that, no less. But it never should have happened. It was an absolute tragedy, terrible thing that happened. And a lot of people kept asking me, John, why aren't you talking about it? And I'd say, because this has nothing to do with the world that I live in, as my online world that I live. This has nothing to do with movies and TV shows. It has nothing to do with it. Don't want to discuss it. But the star of a major MCU series and possibly one of the actors in the upcoming Avengers films coming out and telling her social media followers to cancel their subscription to Disney Plus, that kind of drags it into this realm that we live in. And honestly, I was having conversations today with my business guy, going back and forth because he's a good guy for me to bounce things off of, and I didn't even want to talk about this. I'll be honest with you, I really didn't even want to talk about it, but I just didn't see how I could avoid it. So let's go over and take a look at the story itself. So this is coming us from IGN. It's also on Deadline, all this kind of stuff. But She-Hulk actress Tatiana Maslany tells her social media followers to cancel their Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN subscriptions in response to ABC's suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. We're going to read this a little bit at length because I think the details in here matter. All right. Actually, let me make the text a little bigger for you guys here. All right. So it goes on to say, She-Hulk actress Tatiana Maslany has called for a boycott of Disney Plus, the streaming platform she starred in for the 2022 Marvel TV show, in response to ABC's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel Live. And now, I got to say, when I first heard that AMC was going to suspend Jimmy Kimmel for comments made about the Charlie Kirk situation, my first thought, and it shouldn't have been this, but it was, I admit it, was, oh no, Jimmy Kimmel must have said something really bad, like, oh, that guy deserved to get shot, or who cares if that guy died, or I was thinking he must have said something really incendiary for this to happen. But that's not what happened. Let's keep reading the article. On September 17th, 2025, ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely after its host made on-air comments about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Now, it should be mentioned, he didn't make actually any comments about Charlie Kirk. He made a criticism about the government. But we'll just keep going here. ABC axed the show after the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, which, by the way, is headed by a Trump appointee, threatened regulatory action, raising concerns the Trump administration is curtailing the free speech of its critics. Now, this is what actually happened. In his monologue on Monday, 57-year-old Kimmel said that the MAGA gang was desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and trying everything they can do to score political points from it. He also compared Trump's reaction to Kirk's death as how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. Kimmel had condemned the attack and sent love to Kirk family following the shooting and all this kind of stuff. It needs to be pointed out that listen, I'm going to be the first one to admit, if Kimmel had come out and done what I thought he must have done to get axed or canceled, come out and character assassinated or said it was anything other than abhorrent and terrible and a tragedy that some dude got murdered, then I would be like, yeah, maybe you do need to take this guy off the air, at least for a while. I mean, or maybe permanently. I don't know. But this is a situation where a guy specifically and directly criticized the president, directly criticized the government, and directly criticized their response to the tragedy. And we are now living in an environment where the government is going to come after you if you criticize them. This is the follow-up to that story. Trump appointee, Trump goon, FCC chair Brendan Carr. Now, after Jimmy Kimmel came out and criticized the president for how he responded to the tragedy, FCC chair and Donald Trump henchman Brendan Carr accused Kimmel of the sickest conduct possible. That's what he defines criticizing the government or the president. And said networks like Disney-owned ABC could find ways to change conduct and take action, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC. This is akin to a mobster walking into a guy's shop and saying, "It's a nice shop you got here. Sure would be a shame if a fire got set to it."
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that. You know, free speech, a lot of people think free speech is about you should be allowed to say whatever you want to whoever you want, and nobody should be able to do anything about it. But that's not what free speech is. You're not free from consequences. Free speech, is the way it's written in the Constitution, is specifically about the government should not be able to interfere with your ability to express your opinion, not the ability to threaten people, not the ability to demonize people, not the ability to do whatever, but your ability to criticize the government specifically is something that's specifically protected as free speech. This guy got on, and listen, everybody said if Donald Trump got in power again, he's going to specifically start going after his political enemies, and he is. This is just the second guy. And by the way, in his social media posts on his own social media platform, he said Jimmy Kimmel's not the last guy who's going to go down.
Right.
He specifically said that. We live in a country where the president is saying he's going to use the power of the government to take out people who criticize him. Now, this has now started to impact the entertainment world now, because we've got guys like Damon Lindelof, we got guys now like one of their own television stars saying like, oh, you guys should definitely unplug from Disney Plus. Now, listen, at the same time, it's a dilemma that it puts Disney in. The FCC has the power to pull the broadcast license of ABC and Disney. Unless you think, well, then just move, and this has been suggested to me, just move Jimmy Kimmel to Disney Plus because the FCC has no power over streaming. Yeah, but the FTC does. And that's run by Donald Trump too. So now we have some people saying, just unsubscribe from Disney. But I have to acknowledge, guys, bring up our 3-shot here. I've got to acknowledge that, guys, that it puts Disney in a very precarious position. Like, look, if somebody who had some kind of power over my show, nobody does. That's part of why I like to work for myself. But if somebody did, if somebody had power over my show and said, you got to fire Jonathan Voico because
those words have been spoken, by the way.
Because, man, he just looks too much like Matt Reeves to me. It's confusing to me. It throws me off. For whatever reason, right? You got to get rid of Jonathan Voico, or we're going to make it so the John Campea Show can't function and can't exist. I don't know what I do. The right thing is to say, F you, I'm keeping Jonathan, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm going to lose my job. Rob's going to lose his gig. Jonathan's going to lose his gig anyway. I'm simply acknowledging, I'm not trying to defend Disney here at all. I'm simply saying it's easy for us. Everybody's an expert on what somebody else should do. everyone is a world-class expert on what somebody else should do. But I'm saying if we put ourselves in that situation, that's an interesting dilemma that Disney finds itself in. Because they could just literally they can make up whatever reason they want, and the FCC could pull their broadcast license. So I don't know. I'm not saying Tatiana Maslany is right to call for people to cancel Disney Plus. I'm not saying she's wrong for telling people to cancel Disney Plus.
Well, she's not forcing anybody, but she's suggesting
not forcing anybody. But it is a very nuanced, difficult problem of somebody finding themselves in a really difficult situation being Disney. And what do you do? And I don't think the answer is as easy as some people like to pretend it is. And so it's going to be interesting now to see how, look, we're now seeing how the government is trying to take over the entertainment industry. It started with the current president of the United States naming himself as the head of the Kennedy Center for the Arts, which is ridiculous. Coming out and saying, ain't nobody who's woke getting any more awards from the Kennedy Center. So they're already taking over there. They've now gotten a couple of his biggest proponents. You know what, guys? I was watching a video clip today of Jon Stewart from a couple of years ago when he was receiving the Mark Twain Award. And somebody reshared it today because he said, when authoritarianism comes, comedians are going to be the first people they take out.
Of course.
And it's like, and here it is. We're living in that world now. We are living in a dictator's authoritarianism wannabe government that is now trying to take out people in the media. And it leaves the biggest entertainment company in the world, Disney, in a very precarious place. And they chose one thing, and I'm really not in a position to say whether they had a choice but to curtail and bow to the whims of what's going on here. Jimmy Kimmel will probably pop up somewhere else. Some people are already suggesting have a Canadian network broadcast him into the States. That would be pretty interesting to do if they did that. So it's an interesting situation when we find ourselves with one of the big stars of the MCU calling for people to cancel Disney Plus. And I am not sitting here saying I am not trying to purport that I have the answers to what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing to do here. I'm not saying she's right or wrong. I'm not saying Damon Lindelof is right or wrong. I'm not saying the growing number of performers and people in the industry calling for the same thing or right or wrong. I think it's more nuanced and more thought has to be given to it. So I just think it's a really sticky situation. Again, not something I even wanted to address on my show, but it has unfortunately has completely crept its way into the entertainment discussion now. Anyway, Rob, you see this. Tatiana Maslany has gotten on her social media and she's telling people, let me actually bring up her actual social media post here. I'll bring it up here. This is her social media post where she wrote, cancel your Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN subscriptions, with a picture of her in her, and I don't know if this is from the show or if this might be on set of Avengers Doomsday, but her in her Hulk thing. Because I tell you what else, Rob, if she is in Avengers Doomsday, which many people think she might be, this creates a real dilemma for the people on set, for Disney itself. Like you're about to have somebody star in one of your most major films who is specifically calling on their social media to cancel your service. I don't know. It creates a real mess. This whole situation is a mess, Rob. Anyway, what do you think about her social media post? Was she right to do it, wrong to do it? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there's so much to unpack here. I thought you did a pretty nuanced job of explaining it all. A lot of people would come back and say that broadcast television is on the way out anyway. The Jimmy Kimmel Show is very expensive to produce. One of the things that you didn't touch on that I find interesting is that right now, a Next Star that owns many television stations around the world, around the country, there's a $6 million merger they have going on with another broadcast entity that they want to absorb. And according to FCC rules, a company can only own 39% of broadcasters. There was all the way back to 2004, because if you own more than 39%, you have more of a sway of what you can put on TV, which means you can influence people's opinions. in 2004, the rule was created. It restricts any single entity from owning broadcast stations that, when combined, could reach more than 39% of all U.S. television households. This cap, which dates back to 2004, aims to prevent media monopolization and promote localism and diverse viewpoints. But broadcasters argue that it creates unfair competitive disadvantage against big tech. Well, the FCC would have to approve lifting that cap. And the FCC chairman is the person that went on, if you've seen him the last couple of days, talking about this. So there's something going on that is beyond Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, look, and the worst kept secret in the business is to your point, exactly that situation. The FCC has to approve this stuff. They might have to waive rules, all that kind of stuff. Listen, there was another prominent late night host who just lost their job. And the worst kept secret in the business was, oh, Skydance, you want to take over Paramount? Because God, you remember when Disney was taking over Fox, and it was years of hearings and research and investigation before it finally got approved. Oh, we want to get rid of this guy. They got rid of him, paid a $15 million thing. Deal went through. No problem. No problem. It's the
and
FCC.
comedians tend to sway to a certain, if you want to talk about red state, blue state, comedians, for the most part, are seen as they skew blue. And now what you're doing is you're seeing voices being squelched. And you could say, if you wanted to, that it's on one side of the political spectrum and not the other. And with this next star deal, are you skewing the voices that are heard another way to maybe sway the midterm elections? Now, I'm not saying any of that is true, but there are strange things afoot. And I would tend to say to everybody, we are one country. We are defined by our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And what I love about living in the United States, and what I promote, at least what I try and promote, is while I have certain points of view, I like to have everybody's point of view. I like to have all of the country chime in. I'm from Seattle. One of the great things that I got to experience when I went to New York City for the very first time was a whole different world. You know, New York City, with all of its screaming people on the sidewalks and the honking, I loved it. I love meeting people from all walks of life. Incredibly cosmopolitan city. I met people from all over the world. New York became one of my favorite places because of how many voices were there. Because there were people from all over the world that I had no other opportunity to meet when I was growing up in Seattle. Not that Seattle wasn't great. And I think one of the things about our channel, this channel, even my channel, is movies are universal. You know, movies are the one place that people can go. You can go into a movie theater and sit next to somebody that you don't know what their religion is. You don't know what their sexual orientation is. You don't know what their nationality is. You sit next to a perfect stranger. And the lights go down and everybody gets to experience the story that's on the big screen. And that's what we celebrate here. And the only reason you can have the kinds of movies that we get from the world, whether they're Indian movies, and we could talk about RRR, whether they're movies like Decision to Leave that come out of Korea, or the new movie from the director of The Handmaiden, whether we get a new movie from Japan, you know, this is the one place where all people around the world can come together and discuss what we all love, which is movies, television, movie news, and those kinds of things. And I would beg everyone to remember that we live in a world where the thing that we love the most on this channel is the one thing that brings all peoples together in a way that nothing else does. And that's something that we have to remember. So, I mean, we all have to remember that, hey, we all love Star Wars, but we all might have a problem with The Last Jedi, but we can still talk about it.
Just not Star Trek.
Come on, also, man. Why you gotta do that?
It also stretches on to me as an individual. You know,
well, you're from America's Hat.
Actually, well, I was going to say something.
Kidding. I'm just kidding.
I was there's a growing thing of people coming into the States getting detained and stopped. And what happens is, you know, border people now will take your phones, they will scan your social media, all that kind of stuff. And if you're not a whatever, and I even had it recommended to me by an immigration attorney not to go home for my mom's funeral because, you know, I'm listen, I don't bring it up. I make the odd jab, but I don't do topics, but I am not a supporter of the current administration. That's to put it lightly. And I don't bring that onto the show a lot, but I do talk about it on my social media because that's my own social media platform. So it has nothing to do with my show. And there was a real fear that I would not be allowed back into the country. I've never even been charged in my life with anything. I literally don't have a speeding ticket. Who else can say that? I literally have no criminal charges ever against me in my life, and I have no traffic violations either. But I believe in October, my dad's alone now. He's got my other siblings up there too. But I've made the decision that in October, I'm going to go visit my dad and I'm going to cross the border. Guys, I honestly believe that once they see that I've criticized this president, I believe there is a chance they're not going to let me back in. I really do. I think there's probably like a 25% chance that after I go to visit my dad and I try to come back, they're going to detain me because they're going to get my name. They're going to scan my social media just like they would for anybody else. And they're going to see that whatever, because guess what? I have been detained before. Even though I've had all the right paperwork, I have everything absolutely correct. I'm a green card carrier, all that kind of stuff. I have been detained. Sometimes for hours, and never given an explanation why, but we all know why. And I'm actually a little bit worried about it. And it's now that we're seeing, you know, we live in an authoritarian government now who's going to start taking out their political adversaries. And we're seeing it happening in the entertainment world. And I, as an individual, it might be time for me to leave. So I'm not going to lie, guys. It's terrifying. This isn't just abstract conceptual discussion. This is terrifying. And what terrifies me most is how many people seem to think it's all okay. And I can't help but to think of a movie I don't even like, but Senator Amidala saying, "This is how liberty dies," to the sound of thunderous applause. And it's really scary to me. It really is. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of the star of one of the MCU shows and maybe one of the stars of an upcoming Avengers film getting on her social media to literally call on her social media followers to cancel Disney Plus, to cancel Hulu? That puts them in an awkward position, and it is an awkward position overall. Whatever you guys think about that, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to go on and start taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Robert, great job as always, sir. I'll talk to you next week.
You will. Please drive safe and say hello to the folks in my home state for me.
I will. Looking forward to getting up there. And of course, we're also going to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at PrizePicks. Guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. Look, you and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right actually means you win. And with football back, there is no better time to get in on the action. You guys know I've been using PrizePicks for a while now, and it's honestly the most fun I've had engaging with the new football season already. For example, this weekend, I had Josh Allen throwing for more than 270 passing yards and Baker Mayfield having more than 2.5 passing touchdowns, and boom, I won on both. Building your lineups on PrizePicks is fast, simple, and honestly extremely fun. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and if you're right, you win. What's even better is that PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still win even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Plus, they've even got this thing called injury reboots, so if a player goes down in the first half, it won't count against you. And PrizePicks operates in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So download the app today and use code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CAMPEA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. Listen, I'm already seeing some people in the live chat that don't like that I have the position I take. Don't watch my show. Please go away. I don't need you here. I don't want you here. I'm already eyeballing my retirement. I'm totally set. I don't need you here. Go the fuck away. It's okay. If you can't handle being here when we disagree about something, then just go the fuck away. I don't need you here, and you're not going to be happy, because the closer I get to my retirement, guys, the less fucks I'm going to give. Anyway, all right, let's get on to your stuff here, shall we? What do we got up?
Okay, let me pull up our super chats. We got up first. Whoa. Okay. That scared me for a second. It's a different currency. But X-Men superfan Emma Frost says, would you like a secret 6 Gotham City Sirens or Suicide Squad film? You can choose more than one.
I like the idea of a Gotham City Sirens. There was a talk of them. Fox did something like that at one point, and there was talk of them actually really trying to go into it, but I think that kind of fell by the wayside. I like everything you mentioned, but I think a Gotham City Sirens, I think there's just a lot of different ways you could go with it. I think you could make a more heavily dramatic one. I think you can make a more action-oriented one. I think you could make it a comedy. I think there's a lot of different things you could do with some really interesting characters. So yeah, I'd like to see what they do there.
All right. Next up, we got Bright, who says, let me scroll down here. Haven't seen this brought up before, but always thought that Azrael as the Batman 2 villain would be cool. Religious cult vibes, kind of like True Detective, could be blend of elements of Court of Owls. My question about Azrael is, isn't he kind of more on the supernatural side?
No, he's not. In the comp now, there might be iterations where they do, but just basically speaking, he's just a guy who kind of goes nuts. And that's part of the reason why I find him to be a really interesting character. Like I found him to be absolutely like fascinating and deep. And the fact that he even kind of went crazy kind of adds to that. So I'm down for anything about seeing him coming to the screen. I would love to see him coming to the screen. All right, what's next?
We got Wolf Motts. Not much of a question, and more the question would be a great movie for Matt Reeves in the DCU dark, gritty mystery with an underrated character. But I think we say go the opposite direction.
Sorry, you cracked out there for a second. I didn't hear the whole question. Can you read it again?
Yeah, sure. Not much of a question. More the question would be a great movie for. So the character, the question would be a great movie for Dark Reeves in the DCU dark, gritty mystery with an underrated character.
I'll tell you why that's a great idea. Not just because of what you said, that he's a really great character. Question could be an excellent on-screen kind of character, and Matt Reeves would do something great with it. But the other reason that's a great idea is because the question is exactly the kind of off-the-wall side character sort of thing that James Gunn seems to love to bring to the big screen. Like, we're talking about the same guy who brought us King Shark and Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher, for heaven's sakes. The question is totally a character that would be in James Gunn's wheelhouse, and have Matt Reeves. I think that would be a great idea. I'd be all for that. All right, what's next?
We got Isaac here who says, since I heard the reviews for him are terrible, do you think sports and horror don't mix? Have you ever heard of The Faculty?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's like saying, oh, this one, I don't know, this one comedy about a cop didn't work. Does that mean cops and comedy don't mix?
Right.
It's one movie. It's one movie. So no, it does not mean overall. I mean, you could put out 15, sports related horror films, and 8 of them could be great and 7 of them could be bad. But no, I don't think from one movie, the idea that you can't mix. If you had a great script and you put the movie together well, it could be great. So no, I don't think it's any kind of proof that sports and horror don't mix. I don't believe that. All right, what's next?
Andy, last week, Saturday, September 13th, was the 20th anniversary of the SP. I think you mean Supernatural, probably.
Supernatural.
Series name any favorite moments from the show. Scooby Natural is a favorite episode of his.
Well, yeah, Scooby Natural was hilarious, but I hesitate to mention that one as one of my favorite moments because it was such, even for Supernatural, it was such a side thing that they did that was really kind of out of there. Castiel becoming God was really kind of interesting the way they did that. Dean or Sammy losing his soul for that season, I thought was really interesting and great. And again, just about anything with Crowley. Crowley was honestly my favorite character on the show, I think, other than Sam and Dean. So yeah, too many to mention, man. But I can't believe that it's been 20 years since that show debuted. I guess that makes sense. The show went 15 seasons and we're getting on to 5 years since it ended. So yeah, holy crap. I can't believe that's been 20 years. All right, what's next?
Phoenix. Taylor Swift just sold the same amount of tickets in 2 hours that Demon Slayer sold in 24, and it's only for 3 days, 50, 60, 70 million weekend incoming. This is for the, but the problem is that it's only playing at AMC theaters, so it's going to be limited on theater access.
Yeah, I think it's going to have a lot fewer screens than Demon Hunter did. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I mean, after all, AMC is the largest movie theater chain in the world, but I'm going to assume it's going to have a much smaller number of screens that it plays on. Because I think Rob was telling me too, they're trying to get it on just on the IMAX screens, which is now an even smaller number of things. So I think that's probably, I don't think it's going to be that big. It's going to be, but I think its per screen average is going to be bonkers.
Yeah.
Like its per screen average is going to be one of the highest of the year out of all movies. But overall, I don't know this can be that big. Because I just don't know that's going to have that wide of a release. We'll have to see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
Wayne says, John, have you seen the first 3 episodes of Gen V Season 2?
I did. When I got to my campground last night on my way up here to the San Francisco area, one of the first things I did, I made myself some dinner, and then I sat down, watched the football game, and then after the football game, go Bills, I watched the first 3 episodes of Gen V. And it's really interesting. Although you really do feel, because the one cast member, one of the main cast members died in between seasons. And you could really feel that as they tried to write around it, like they wrote that the character himself died as well. Kind of, they pulled a Black Panther sort of thing where the actor died, so they killed off the character. And you could really feel that, and it was a little bit awkward in places, but I quite enjoyed it. I mean, I really like Gen V. I don't like Gen V as much as the boys, but I really like it. And this new Dean, Cypher, I think is going to be a fascinating character for them going forward. So yeah, I liked it. Again, you could feel the awkwardness because they had to rewrite a lot of stuff with the one actor passing away, but I think it's off to a good start. All right, what's next?
Dakota says, why do you think people are saying Harry Potter's TV show will fail because it will be too similar to the movies when How to Train Your Dragon made 600 at the box office?
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And by the way, are there going to be similarities? Of course there are going to be similarities. They're based on the same book, but they're going to do 8 to 10 episodes of one book. Instead of 2.5 hours, they're going to have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours of content based on each individual book. They're going to be able to go into so much more stuff that the movies just never had time to go into. So I think, of course, if it wasn't similar, nobody would watch it. But I think it's going to also be different enough that it'll be its own thing too. So listen, if you are somebody who believes no one's going to watch the Harry Potter series, good for you. I can't even begin to tell you how crazy you are, and I'm not even a Potterhead. A lot of people are going to watch this show, man. And yes, there's going to be similarities, but it's also going to be very unique. All right, what's next?
We got, let's see, Anubis, Genocide is a 2-parter. In the Peacemaker podcast, Gunn said he may cast Rooker back for another role in the DCU. It would be a funny running joke if any character that kills a bird in the DCU is now played by Rooker. And then he continues on it, seeing how Rooker as Savant, the Suicide Squad.
In the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. In the movie kills a bird in his first scene.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll make that the connective thread, but the fact is that they made him up in such a way that you could bring him back if you make him up in another way altogether. Look, there are certain rules in the universe, death taxes and all that kind of stuff, but one of them is that James Gunn will find a way to incorporate Michael Rooker into his films and into his projects. And I actually ended up loving the character I'll be honest, didn't hit me the right way when he first came out. I thought this is kind of lame, but that character really totally grew on me right up until he died. So I could totally see James Gunn bringing him back. They're too good of friends. He uses them way too often. So yeah, I could see him in the DCU again.
Wayne says, are you caught up for The Paper? I love the characters on the show, even if I'm not laughing all the time.
Okay, so I believe I'm at episode 6 of The Paper. And It has potential. It really does. Actually, a buddy of mine just told me he just watched the last 2 episodes and say they were really quite good. Okay, but I haven't seen the last 2 episodes. I feel like the potential is there. Now, of course, you got to remember the first season of The Office for some people was pretty shaky. I actually love the first season of The Office, but a lot of people found the first season a little bit shaky. The first season of Parks and Rec, the show didn't really find its identity yet, right? The first season of Parks and Rec isn't all that great. And Parks and Rec is now one of my all-time favorite shows. So it starts off a little bit slow. They hit the episode. Jonathan, have you been watching the paper at all?
I only started it, but I didn't get through enough of it to like have a real opinion.
So I got to the episode. I was fine. It's like, okay, there's potential here, but it's pretty slow. Then I got to the catfish episode. And the catfish episode was absolutely hilarious. Like, I laughed my ass off at that episode. But then it followed it up with another episode that I didn't think was all that good. Again, I'm gonna not pass judgment on it until I watch the whole first season, and then it's been renewed for season 2, so we'll see where it goes. So I'll still stay with. I feel like it's not quite there, but it has the potential to get there, like the way Parks and Rec did, and like the way The Office did. We'll see if they're able to pull it together. All right, what's next?
Comic Book Reporter says, who is the best choice to buy Warner Brothers, Sony, or Netflix? It's always going to be anything but Netflix.
Anything but Netflix. Netflix is absolutely the wrong choice because Netflix is trying to kill theatrical. And movies are theater. Movies on TV are TV movies. Movies on TV are TV. Movies are movies, and they're meant to be movies. And so any of the studios, hell, I'm even okay with Apple TV, with Apple or Amazon buying them, because Apple and Amazon both have big, major financial commitments to theatrical. Netflix is and I'm a big Netflix fan. I've had Netflix forever. I love Netflix, but they are absolutely the last people I want to see get Warner Brothers. All right, what's next?
We got Sean, who says, not Sean, Cena, who says, since Matt Reeves said the villain hasn't really been done in film before, what do you think about Mask of Phantasm?
I think there's a part 2.
We know the movie will take place in the winter. The story revolves around and less Batman, and Mask of Phantasm was a theatrical release, but not live action.
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to try to do a live action version of Mask of the Phantasm. And by the way, I love that movie. I've loved that movie since I was much, much younger.
I remember seeing it in theaters. Great.
Yeah. I think it's I think it's one of the best animated comic book films ever made. I still do. It stands up very, very well, but I don't see him taking that and bringing that into live action. So is it possible? Absolutely. Because you're right. It's not been done. I mean, he has been done in a movie before, and that's it. And Matt Reeves didn't say he's never been done in a movie before in live action. No, he just said he's never been done in a movie before. So I think that probably counts him out. All right, what's next?
Oops, 1 second. I gotta scroll back here. Hang on. Okay, now we're back. Okay. Brian says, Economos is officially the funniest character to me because his lines make me burst out laughing. It's that dry humor. Why? My favorite is when he described Judo Master as some kind of Kung Fu Bulbasaur.
I know. Seriously, they did something like, I liked Economos in season 1. I did. But at some point they made a decision, let's up the writing on this character.
Yeah.
And Tim Meadows, whatever, but we're focusing on Economos. Economos has become a much funnier character.
I can't help but sometimes get vibes of John Schnepp when I watch that actor.
Yeah.
They're not the same,
obvious reasons.
But
no.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know what else? The way he's written, I could see John Schnepp writing him that way too. But like one of the best lines from last night's episode, when he's, giving her crap and all that kind of stuff, she goes, like, you literally were just giving me a hard time for doing something to keep my job. And then he says, yes, but I'm a well-known pussy. And blah, blah. It's just like the character is so great. And I love the character, and I love seeing more and more of them. That's one of the things that makes Peacemaker season 1 and season 2 so great, is that it's not just Peacemaker. Like, all the surrounding characters are so wonderfully colorful and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Economos has really stepped up this year. All
All
right,
right,
what's next?
we got a few more here. Joe Adonis says, "Hi, John. Would have loved to join you guys at the movie meetup, but Dublin is too far away for me. But I still purchased the tickets to support. Have fun, everybody."
Oh, thank you, man. That's incredible. I don't get any of the money from it. Just so you know.
But you
I don't
supported
get
the
any
theater, I guess.
You supported Regal, and I'm sure Regal thanks you. But I just to be very, very clear, I make no money from these movie meetups at all. I spend money to go and do these movie meetups. Like I'm spending hundreds of dollars on gas and being away from home and buying my food on the road and all that kind of stuff. It's costing me. I don't make any money. These are not my tickets. None of the ticket sales come to me. I just, we've had all these people who have supported our show for so long, and people have dropped the idea of like getting to do meetups and stuff like that I just thought when I was a good time to do it. I'm doing this because I as a sign of my gratitude to our audience. But I make no money from it. Just to be clear, just so you know. But thank you for it's the intent, right? That your intent was to support me. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got just some support here from Jason Elliott. Thank you so much. And then Anthony follows up here and says, do a little filthy sports. Chances Chiefs lose to the Giants Sunday night.
Higher than you might think. Listen, Russell Wilson just decided to ball out. Like, I have not seen Russell Wilson last week when they played the Cowboys. I have not seen Russell Wilson have that kind. I think he threw for over 430 yards or something like that, 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was Seattle Seahawk Russell Wilson. And now their defense is still a big problem. And when you're going against Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, now they are missing their number one receiver and everything too, but that's going to be a problem because they let Dallas put up, I think, over 40 points on them, and Kansas City's offense is better than Dallas's offense. So, but listen, the way if Russell Wilson can ball out like that again, if I was betting $5 on it, I would still put it on the Chiefs. But I ain't going to be shocked if the Giants pull it out because the Chiefs have not looked like the Chiefs and the Giants looked way better. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is our last of the super chats. Mr. I says, job of a comedian is find out where the line is drawn and cross it. That's George Carlin who said that. Would love to hear his thoughts if he was still around. Carlin was one of the greats.
Yeah, Carlin was one of the greatest. And he, by the way, George Carlin was way ahead of his time.
Oh, very. I think people, you're right, because people like used to kind of listen and like, I guess I could see that, or they'd be a little confused by what he meant. Not so much.
And now you go back and watch some of his stuff now, some of his stand-up stuff. He was so far ahead of his time. George Carlin would definitely have some things to say about the way things are being done here today. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Big thanks, of course, to Robert Meyer Burnett, to our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.